was one of the worst moments in American history. And when you think about the worst moments in American history, like the Holocaust.
And now we got to check in on Sunny Hostin because one of the hosts of The View just hit a new level of DELULU. Take a listen to what Sunny Hostin had to say about the anniversary of the January 6th riot at the Capitol.
I think we need to find moral clarity, in this country. And I just remember after January 6th, you had someone like Mitch McConnell placing the blame on January 6th where it belonged, squarely on Donald Trump's shoulders. Mm-hmm. And then you started seeing people backtrack that and losing their moral center. You had Condoleezza Rice, I believe, on this very show saying, we need to move on from January 6th. I say no. You don't move on because January 6th was an atrocity. It was one of the worst moments in American history. And when you think about the worst moments in American history, like World War II, things that happened, like the Holocaust, chattel slavery, we need to never forget because past becomes prologue if you forget any race.
Did she just suggest that the Holocaust was American history? I mean, kind of. America wasn't involved, but it's European history more so, but okay, that's not really the point. So I just wish we could acknowledge that January 6th was bad, embarrassing, and a disgrace without taking it to like delusional levels of alarmism, comparing it to 9/11, the Holocaust, and all that, things where thousands or actually millions of people died and were exterminated. Like, that's a little bit of a stretch, does make you sound hysterical and ridiculous, and I think discredits the legitimate concerns and complaints that people have about the riot. As the journalist Robbie Suave posted on Twitter, January 6th was an embarrassing spectacle and rioters should be punished appropriately. It was not on the same level as World War II, slavery, or the Holocaust, which is obvious to everyone whose brain is still intact. I completely agree with this. I actually take issue with a lot of the Republicans who now act like January 6th was no big deal. No, it was a violent riot. Dozens of police officers were injured, and a lot of criminal activity took place that day. A bunch of people protesting for a cause that was based on a lie. The 2020 election wasn't stolen. And then they threw a fit, an un-American fit, and used violence and criminal offenses to try to get their message across. That's wrong. It's wrong when Black Lives Matter did it in 2020 and they rioted, and it's wrong when fringe MAGA supporters did it on January 6th. But the only person who was actually killed as a direct result of that was one of the MAGA protesters. And a riot that led to one death is just not comparable to the Holocaust, to 9/11, or to any of these atrocities. I just think we have this epidemic of hysterical comparisons and delusion and alarmism, especially in the media, because it is a good way to make headlines or draw attention to yourself, but it really does far more harm to the discourse than good, especially in cases like this, where some of these comparisons are actually offensive and ridiculous, like the comparison to the Holocaust. Commentator Hen Mazig pointed out on Twitter, comparing January 6th to the Holocaust is beyond absurd. It's offensive, it's dangerous. The Holocaust was the systematic extermination of 6 million Jews, children, parents, and entire families wiped out in gas chambers, ghettos, and mass shootings. Comparing that to a political riot diminishes the unimaginable horror of genocide. We have a responsibility to honor the memory of Holocaust victims, not downplay their suffering with careless rhetoric. This kind of comparison is not just ignorant, it erodes our understanding of history and cheapens our memory of atrocities. Words matter. I agree with this. Words do matter, and whether it's mainstream media figures or Democratic politicians, the hysterical rhetoric about January 6th and about the Capitol riot is not helpful. In fact, it makes it easy for people to discredit the whole opposition to it, all the critiques of it, as just Trump derangement syndrome, when actually it was a deeply disgraceful day and an embarrassment to the country, and something that Republicans, the ones who enabled it or encouraged it, should be embarrassed of. You're almost letting them off the hook when you go so unhinged like this. They can dismiss you out of hand. That's why, to me, this clip is just everything that's wrong with liberal cable news. But what do you guys think? Do you agree with Sunny Hostin? Do you agree with me? Let me know in the comments section, and do hit that like button while you're at it, and make sure you're subscribed if you aren't yet.